Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Tuesday, April 20th. Okay. And we'll start the meditation in just a couple minutes. Okay. Thanks for joining this morning. Thank you. And for those of you joining in on YouTube and Facebook, good morning. Good morning. We're going to give it another minute here and we'll start the meditation. Thanks for joining this morning. Okay, it is 10:02. Let's get going with the meditation. And I'm excited. I think for those of you who were here yesterday with the meditation, I'll be getting a new webcam, which I'm super excited about. This one's actually been pretty good, and I got it through Wish, if you're familiar with that. They have things that are really cheap, but it takes like 2 months to get them, literally. I think that all ships from China. But I had one bad experience with it where I kind of got scammed on something, so and it was hard to clean up. So I don't use them anymore. But the cameras actually worked for me pretty well. I've had it for almost a year now, and any case, but I get my new webcam coming in hopefully just a few days here, and I'm excited because it's a real nice one. So, any case, that's about it. Let's see. Yeah, let's meditate. And just closing your eyes, just allowing your body to really just sink into whatever you're sitting or lying on. And just making sure your body's comfortable so that it's not a distraction for you during the meditation. And just taking in a nice deep breath. And just really letting go of any stress, any worries at all. And worries are just simply fear of the unknown. That's all it is. And of course, we've all had the experience where our mind makes the problem far worse than it is, because our mind comes from a place of fear quite often, and because of that, it just expands a problem into a crisis at times. And typically, most of the time, not always true, but most of the time we end up having experience or don't have the experience at all. But if we do, it's far less than what our mind made it out to be. But the truth is, why give into that energy at all? And our mind wants to be in control, but the more we relinquish control and we give it over to God, we begin to have this trust and faith that everything is flowing exactly the way it needs to, and there's absolutely nothing to worry about. I mean that sincerely. And my mind still goes there some, but for the most part, every single day gets a little bit less where I look to my mind for any answers, for any solutions, for figuring out how to be happy, or bringing in more money, or finding the right job, or my purpose, or finding out how to awaken even. We turn to our mind for awakening, for enlightenment, when the mind can never, ever fully comprehend what that is, because it's actually transcending the mind. So that the fact that we would look to the mind for solutions and how to be happy is a lie, a myth, illusion. And so I'm inviting you to let go of any stories, any beliefs that say you need to look to the mind for happiness, you need to look to the mind for your solutions, that you need to look for your mind for any knowledge or answers even. Because we understand that the mind is finite, right? It someday, like the body, that it will someday pass. So we have to ask the question, what is that thing, not only within us, but as us, that never dies? And when we connect with that, we see that we have access to all the knowledge, all the information, and all the memories that are accessed beyond anything physical. So yes, does the mind have a function? It does, but it's not as our master and us its slave. And that is where we create every single one of our problems. So just being here in this moment, there's nowhere you need to go. There's nothing you need to do. There's no trying or effort required with this meditation. And I invite you to let go of any agendas or any intentions or even attachments as to how your mind or your ego thinks this meditation should go. And I just invite you to come back to the innocence of who you are, where every moment that presents itself is fresh and new. And our response to people, as we're listening, as we're responding and expressing from a place of freshness and newness, and not some canned answer. I must admit, there's certain people that I haven't learned to really just be at peace with them if they're just regurgitating old information. And quite frankly, most of the world is doing that. And so I'm still sorting through, what is it within me that needs them to be any different than what they are. And so what needs to happen with that within myself? To observe it and notice when those thoughts and those beliefs come up. The thought that says, wow, I'm really bored. I know exactly what they're going to say. This is not interesting. And just noticing those thoughts and or feelings that come up with that. And we don't need to figure out the solutions. We don't need to analyze it. That also puts you in your head. All we need to do is keep practicing, just noticing the thoughts, noticing the feelings, noticing the experience, noticing the five senses. It really is just about noticing and being aware of all of it. And not looking to fix or change any of it. Ultimately, peace is when we just completely accept our life as it is. And it doesn't mean that we're not going to feel maybe horrible or anger or hatred or any negative emotions that you want to describe. It doesn't mean that we're not going to feel or experience those things. It means that we can simply be a witness to them. Because when you can watch the thought and recognize that you are not the thought, that you are not the thinker of the thoughts, it doesn't matter what thought you have, you can be at peace with it. And similarly, you can have whatever feeling that presents itself. Anger, frustration, hatred, or joy or love, any of it. But you are not the feeler of the feelings. You are the one who is a witness to those feelings, and the one who does not need the feelings to be any different than what they are. And it's true for perceptions. We all perceive the world through our own filters, and we have our own experiences. What is a beautiful experience to one is a horrible experience to another. Why? Because we perceive the world through our own filters. But you are not your perceptions. And so you are the one who is the witness to the perceptions and doesn't need the perceptions to be any different than what they are. And lastly, you are not the one who is taking action. You are not your actions. You are the one who is a witness to your actions. And you are also the one who is witnessing it without needing to fix or change the actions. So where does peace come in? Peace comes in by totally accepting our thoughts, our feelings, our perceptions, and our actions, but recognizing that we are not those. We are simply the witness of those. And as the witness to those, we don't need to fix or change any of those. Therefore, we don't need to fix or change our person, which is simply an accumulation of ideas, thoughts, self-images, and labels and conditioning that we've taken on over the years, that we have bought into as if it's the truth of who we are. Because we have believed the thoughts, we have believed the feelings, we have believed our perceptions, and we have believed our actions, and therefore, because we have believed those, we've come up with this idea of who we think we are, which we call the person. And let's face it, it's affirmed in society by teachers, by priests, by parents. You are the person. And if a priest was to, I don't want to make this a black or white thing, because there's certainly priests that I actually know that understand that we are not our bodies, our minds, and our thoughts. But my point is, with all of these so-called authority figures in our life, we cannot help but to be caught in the trap of the person and believe this because it's been so ingrained in us, and it's all good. It's all good. It was just a play of life to help us to become aware of who we are not, so that we may shed this skin, this old shell that we call the person, the personality, and that we may return home to the innocence and freedom and truth of who we are, that is beyond the person, that is beyond all the thoughts, feelings, perceptions, and actions. And that's why we invite you to transcend all of those and transcend the past and to transcend the future. Because the past and the future, the past is gone, it's done, it's no longer relevant, and the future doesn't even exist. This present moment here was called the future at one point in time, and so was this present moment. But the present moment is not just, it's not about time, it's actually being timeless. The present moment is actually just simply fully accepting the totality of this moment, recognizing that there is nothing else. And so I just invite you to fully sink, fully surrender into this present moment. Just let go, empty out all the past. Let go and empty out all the worries of the future. Just let go and empty out all the stories of who you are not, which means all the stories and the beliefs about who you think you are. Think you are, which we call the person, the personality. And like I said, so many people affirm this. Oh, what a beautiful personality you have. What does that mean? It means that they like the conditioning and the labels that you've taken on. And they might describe you as a nice guy or a nice woman. Oh, they're such a kind person. They're so loving and generous. But these are all labels and stories, even the good ones. Because ultimately, when you are living as the isness, as the pure beingness of who you are, it is beyond any label or description whatsoever. You cannot be described. That's why it's so hard to take somebody into full awakening, because people look to words and descriptions so much. We read all these books and we listen to these tapes and we listen to, our so-called authority figures or teachers, but nobody can fully describe. Nobody can fully take you into the truth of who you are by description. So you find teachers like Eckhart Tolle and Muji that help to describe who you are not and help you to let go of who you are not, so that the only thing that remains is the truth of who you are, that is beyond any label, conditioning, or descriptions. People look closely to try to find some piece of knowledge as if that knowledge will awaken them to who they are. And it is actually the opposite. It will be by letting go of all these things that you have learned that you think are the truth, that are actually blocking you from recognizing the emptiness and the innocence and just the pure beingness of who you are, that has nothing to do with the knowledge that you've learned. And it doesn't mean you're without knowledge. In fact, you have access to all the knowledge in the universe. But that knowledge does not come from your mind or your beliefs. It comes from an innocence and a freedom and pure expression of God itself. So don't wait for some piece of knowledge to present itself to you, that you now, because you've learned something new, that it will take you into the truth of who you are. But if we describe to say, you are love, you are peace, you are joy, well, okay, what does that mean? Does that mean because somebody tells you that, because a master tells you you are love, peace, and joy, therefore you can just be that? No. Because of all the things that you have learned and bought into, these false identification as to who you are, it's been all this learning that you've taken on that is preventing you from simply being love, being joy, being peace. But it's not about trying to be those, because that is of the head and not of the heart. The head is looking for ways to be that. The heart simply is that. So by letting go of all these old stories and beliefs that stand in the way of the truth of who you are, when you let go of who you are not, what remains is the natural peace, joy, and love of who you are that doesn't take any effort. There's no trying to be happy. You are happiness. There's no trying to be at peace. You are peace. There's no trying to be loving. You are that. And there's no looking for God or for your true self, because you are that. And there comes a point in time where you, as Muji calls it, the seeker is swallowed by your true self. Meaning that we're doing these seeking, and it's wonderful. Seek ye first the kingdom of God, and all else shall be added unto you. That's been my mantra for years. But then there comes a point in time where there's no more waiting. Stop waiting for something else to happen. Let go of all your waiting for something else to present itself so that you can be the truth of who you are, and let go of all the seeking, at least right now for this meditation. Because there's nothing to seek. You are everything that you have been seeking. And that's truly living in the present moment. When you recognize that you are the truth that is right here, right now. And there's no more waiting for anything. And I mentioned this recently because people are trying to find themselves, trying to get to themselves. How far do you need to travel? Do you need to go to India, to the Himalayas? Do you need to climb a mountaintop? Maybe it's a little closer than that because you've done work. Maybe your true self is only 10 feet away or even 1 foot away. But the truth is, your true self is not even 1 molecule away, not 1 inch away, not 1 millimeter away, because it is you. There's no distance that you have to travel to be you. It is you. And the mind might think that you have to travel somewhere to get to you. No, you are you. So I invite you to let go of this belief that you need to go somewhere to find you. No, you are here right now in this moment. It is you. It has always been you. It will always be you. And what's also true is you don't have to earn your way back to you. You are here right now, and there's nothing you can do to prevent that truth. The only thing you can do is buy into these false illusions that would have you think that you need to go somewhere or do something or save the world. Oh, look at all the good you've done. Maybe now you can discover yourself. But I will tell you this. God's love is unconditional, meaning there's nothing you ever need to do in order to earn the truth that you already are. Your true essence, its love is unconditional, and there's nothing that you need to do to return home to who you are other than let go of the stories that block you from recognizing that truth. So right now, I invite you just to let go of all the stories that you need to go somewhere or somewhere else to discover the truth of who you are. I invite you to let go of all the stories that say that you somehow need to earn your way back into heaven, that heavenly state, which is earning your way back into the truth of who you are. Let go of that story. There's no earning necessary. And A Course in Miracles speaks about the one illusion that it leans on to use, and that is forgiveness. And forgiveness is only necessary. It's only necessary for those illusions that stand in the way. In truth, when you fully so empty out everything that you are not, when you let go of all the past thoughts, the past feelings, the past perceptions, the past experiences, the past actions, when you let go of all of it, the only thing that remains is the truth of who you are, and forgiveness isn't even necessary. But sometimes we get caught in our mind, and we get caught in the shame or the guilt or the blame. And sometimes forgiveness can be helpful for ourselves or for others in order to help us to simply escape this false illusion or these false beliefs of who we are not. So yes, use forgiveness if you need to. But better yet, empty out all those things that you are not, and you will find that forgiveness, there's nothing to forgive. By you, for you. You don't need to forgive others. God doesn't need to forgive you. But you will notice that one of the things Jesus said when being crucified is, "Forgive them, Father, for they know not what they do." And he was specifically asking for them. He already was in forgiveness. True? And when he's saying, "Forgive them, Father, for they know not what they do," was it because God stood in judgment of them? No, Jesus was asking the Father to relinquish them from their karma, to let them off the hook, because they are unconscious. They are unconscious and they are rooted in their person, and they simply do not know what they're doing. But what also Jesus was providing us was a path to awakening, meaning he was giving us an example that no matter how bad the situation is, forgiveness is always possible. And forgiveness leads us to this place where we can let go of everything who we are not, so that forgiveness is no longer necessary. But it is necessary a certain point in our path, because it's by walking with a heart of forgiveness that we step away from our ego that wants to be right, that wants to blame others, that wants to blame ourselves, that wants to feel guilt and shame. And so there is a point in time where forgiveness is necessary and is absolutely beautiful to be practiced. So forgiveness is a wonderful tool, and there also comes a point in time when you transcend the thoughts, the feelings. And when I say transcend the feelings, I'm not saying you deny them. You acknowledge them, you accept them, you be present with them, but recognize that they are not who you are. Nor are your perceptions, nor are your actions. All of these things, your thoughts, your feelings, your perceptions, your actions, are all consciousness expressing itself through you, which we call the three gunas, the three forces of nature. Tamas, sattva, rajas are all different energies and as a way of consciousness expressing itself through you until you get to the point where you begin to witness those things and you even transcend that. But tamas is the energy of yin and darkness and struggle and suffering. And it's in this energy that we are inundated with all these things until we get to a point, and I'm assuming that everyone listening to this meditation is at this point, where you say, I don't want to continue this struggle. Father, I am ready to end the struggle. Show me the truth of who I am. Show me the path home. Show me that I am home. Open the doors to the very truth and joy and peace and love that I already am. And that is the end of struggle. And then the consciousness of sattva comes in, the yang energy that's opposite of the yin, and brings in health and joy and love and peace. And that is the energy of the Holy Spirit to rebuild you from a healthy foundation, not on a false foundation, which is the tamas, the energy of destruction, to destroy ignorance. And that is the Christ energy. That's why Christ came in, to destroy our ignorance by shedding the truth, by shedding what is real and true, and helping to get rid of the suffering. But you have to walk through the suffering sometimes in order to make that choice to say, I no longer want to be a part of that. In Rajas, the third guna magnifies whichever you're in. If you're in tamas, it magnifies that. It magnifies the suffering. And when you're ready to step out of the suffering, it magnifies the sattva energy, the yang energy. And the Holy Spirit flows through us, with us, as us, rebuilding the truth of who we are from the very core foundation of who we are, which is the witness to all of life. And I'm noticing this bird just chirping over and over outside my window. And I've noticed this sound more this year than ever before. And I kept looking for the bird and I couldn't find it. And then finally one day I saw that it is a woodpecker. And the woodpecker represents eating the bugs, clearing out the issues, if you will. And so the woodpecker calls to us right now as we empty out that which we are not. And you can watch nature all the time. Maybe you have an owl visit you for wisdom. Maybe you have a hawk or eagle that you see that is bringing you a message, because they are the messengers. Watch the signs of spirit. Listen within your heart. God is always speaking to you. God is always calling you home, particularly when you've made the choice to return home. And one day, many years ago, I felt this clear calling. There was no words to it. There was no descriptions to it. And my friend, who is highly intuitive, I said to him, I feel the Ashayas, which I was doing the Ashaya meditation. I feel the Ashayas calling me home. And he said, that's Sadashiva, that's your teacher. And I felt this clarity on Sadashiva just calling me home. Beyond words, beyond descriptions. Come, join me. Come, please join me. I invite you right now to open your hearts, open your minds. Our beloved Father is calling you home. Jesus is calling you home. Buddha, nature, whatever your path is, it's all fine. You are being called home, are you not? Are you not being called to step beyond the person, to step beyond the ego, and return to that place of peace within yourself and as yourself? It's there. And when you can just accept your life as it is, as I said, accepting all the thoughts, all the feelings, all the perceptions, all the actions, just accept it all. No fight, no struggle. There's nothing to fight or struggle against. It's not you. The only thing that's left to do is simply accept it and embrace it. Embrace it. Where all these things, all the past, all the future, when you accept life in the totality of it all, the only thing that's left is a gratitude and peace and a joy and a love. That's all. And God. God's always been here, will always be here. You cannot get rid of God. There's nothing you have ever done. There's nothing you will ever do to keep God or to keep the truth of who you are at bay. You cannot keep them away because you are that. And so I invite you for one final emptying out. Emptying out everything that you can think of and everything that you can imagine, because you are not your thinking and you are not your imagination. You are beyond all of that. Just letting it all go and see what remains. And you get to have a direct experience for yourself that by emptying everything out, you see that there's the only thing that's left is the only things that you can't empty out. You and God. You as God. God as you. Oneness. Beyond anything physical, beyond any form or shape, beyond anything mental or emotional. Even letting go of all the spiritual. You don't need to hold on to that either, because you are everything you have been looking for. Everything. And so why would you want to hold on to anything at all? But sometimes our ego wants to. Sometimes our ego's scared. What if I let go of all of it? Then what will remain? And I will cease to exist. I, the ego, the personality, the person. So I'm inviting you, just for one single moment, empty out so fully, so completely, that only the beautiful freedom and nothingness and pure joy and isness of who you are remains. I had a dog that passed away some years ago, and my teacher said, just let go of her into the nothingness. And I didn't fully know what that meant. And every day I prayed, Father, I send her back to the light. I send her back to the nothingness. And it was, I don't remember the time frame. It was weeks and weeks. I believe it might have been maybe 3 or 4 months where I prayed that regularly. And then all of a sudden, I felt this perfect, pure, white light. And I felt my dog Brandy move perfectly into it. And when she did, I couldn't fully be with the nothingness. And it scared me because I saw that she went back into the nothingness, and I called her back because I was afraid to lose my connection with her. But it wasn't that I was losing my connection with her. I was losing my understanding of who she was and who she is. And I was consoled by my teacher to say it's okay, that it was all perfect in how it was unfolding. But it can be scary sinking into the nothingness simply because our mind doesn't understand it. But I'm inviting you to go beyond the mind, beyond what the mind can comprehend. Go beyond and experience the peace that passeth all understanding. And that's what I say. It won't be another piece of knowledge. It won't be because you're smarter or more intelligent than somebody else. It will be because you have emptied yourself out so fully and so completely that only the truth of who you are remains. And I shouldn't say it's the only way, because there are many paths to the truths. Many paths. This happens to be the path that resonates with me and that I share with you. But don't give up. Don't give up on the truth. Don't give up on the infinite possibilities of who you are. If anything would convince you that you're less than love, peace, joy, if you're less than God even. And I know for some that might sound a bit blasphemous because we're not used to hearing that. But I'm not asking you to believe me on that. I am not trying to persuade you or convince you of anything. I am simply inviting you to empty out so fully and so completely that you get to experience the truth for yourself and as yourself. I don't feel like there's anything else that needs to be said and that I feel drawn to say. Just being in this moment, just bathing in the glory of who you are, the glory of who God is. And I don't mean glory from an arrogant point of view, and certainly not from a point of view of building up your false self, of building up your person. When you are the emptiness, when you are that pure isness and freedom, the only thing left is glory, pure glory out of humility and innocence and peace. if your mind has drifted, just coming back to this present moment that has everything you need. Your mind has drifted, just coming back once again to the present moment. And if it helps you to have a focal point, you can just be a witness to the breath or the silence or the stillness. going to begin to bring this meditation to completion. So if you'd like to meditate longer, please mute or turn your device off. And thank you so much for joining us. And for those of you who are ready to finish up, just taking in a nice deep breath. And just making sure you're energizing and rooting and grounding this wonderful physical form that helps us to get around. Wiggling fingers, toes, stretching. And taking your time, and whenever you're ready, opening your eyes. And I'm going to take a peek over in Facebook land there. Wonderful physical form that helps us to get around. Wiggling fingers, toes. There we go. Okay, let's see. Sharon, good morning, Sharon. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Nancy Gibney, good morning. Morning, Nancy, good morning. And Michelle, happy Tuesday, my friend. Happy Tuesday. Let's see here. I think, do we have one other comment? And I missed Cheryl's on there too. Good morning, Cheryl. Good morning, my friend. And we've got somebody on YouTube here also, probably Sandy, but let's just see. And we've got, and Sandy, good morning. Morning, Sandy, good morning. Yesterday I heard my loud chirping bird, and today my owl. Oh, I must be in great shape. Yeah, right. Yeah, to me, owl represents wisdom. So to me, it's affirming that you're on the right track there. So that's nice to hear. And let's see. I think that is about it. So. No meditation tomorrow, you guys, and we will, we'll be meditating on Thursday morning. Okay, have yourself a beautiful day, and namaste.